I attempted to 100% the Blasphemous achievements on Steam, and if you don't know what Blasphemous is, it's a platforming, kind of Souls-like Metroidvania based on the themes of Roman Catholicism. Think of Iron Maidens, flagellation, similar to the Halls of Agony in Diablo 3. But here's the thing. I don't play Souls-likes, I'm not used to using a controller, and I started my playthrough blind, which caused me to miss a lot of achievements that would require me to start over from the beginning. And I was really nervous when doing this challenge, so I made a lot of mistakes. No, I was one hit away! I choked! Imagine if that is what comes between me and the 3-hour timer. The most notable achievements for getting 100% are Requiem Aeternum and Bronze Medal, with less than a 3% completion rate. Requiem Aeternum requires you to beat all 10 original bosses without using any healing flasks, while Bronze Medal requires you to beat the first 5 bosses of the game in less than 3 hours. After my initial playthrough of the game, I decided to do both of these achievements in one run on New Game Plus to save me time. New Game Plus is an optional game mode, and it means you restart your save file, but you get to keep your abilities and prayer beads that you unlocked the first time. But you lose all of your health and magic upgrades, and the bosses have double health and deal double damage. Attempting to do a speedrun with double boss damage, double boss health, and no flasks could easily cause me to fail my speedrun, making me redo 3 hours of gameplay. But there's one more problem. The 5th and final boss before crossing the bridge needed for the speedrun achievement was one of the hardest bosses in the game for me to defeat in my original playthrough. So let's get started. When you first start Blasphemous, they throw you into the first boss fight almost immediately. I expected to kill this boss quite easily, but my overconfidence was short-lived when I realized how long it was taking to kill without my damage upgrades and his double health, and how quickly I was dying without my health upgrades and his double damage. Ooh. He's gonna kill me. Yeah, just have to let that happen. After a quick respawn, I was able to defeat him on my second try, but I had to wonder if I was making a huge mistake going for this speedrun in New Game Plus. I made my way past the main hub of the game, a rundown church town by the name of Albero, and to the second boss, the Ten Piedad.
Piedad.
I immediately take a hit, and I'm already at half health for the rest of the fight, and he finishes me off soon after. I chose not to use Viridiana for this fight, an NPC that will heal you when your health drops critically low. She can only help you in 3 fights before the cost of her power consumes her life force, turning her into ash, and I wanted to save her for potentially harder bosses. I died a total of 4 times trying to beat him, which doesn't seem like much, but I'm already feeling the weight of the timer. If I die 4 times to the easiest boss, how am I going to beat the others in time? Ooh, it's really rough not being able to use my flask. Maybe I cannot do my speedrun, we'll see. With 2 bosses down and 3 more to go, I am 30 minutes in with 2.5 hours left. But the next 2 bosses are pretty far away through some potentially fatal terrain. The way to the 3rd boss requires you to climb a large snowy mountain with strong winds that push your character around, and small platforms with enemies waiting to knock you into the void. Please stop pushing me. No! I was trying to avoid that. No. What happened to my character? Let's just say, I hope I don't have to do this again. We are at the 3rd boss, Our Lady of the Charred Visage, now with Viridiana's help. This boss is more of a bullet minigame, but I take a lot of unnecessary hits trying to burn her down faster, instead of focusing on dodging. Here you can see I get too greedy and try to continue damaging her from the middle of the arena, when I should have moved over to the left and knocked the orange orbs into her, which deal a ton of damage. The strategy I attempted was to use an ability that causes 2 discs to spin around you, knocking any projectiles out of the way. While they were able to prevent the majority of projectiles, they were a little too slow to block all of them, and there was a limit to how often I could activate it. I got a little lucky with the order of attacks and was able to complete this fight on the 3rd attempt. Back down the mountain, and on the way to the 4th boss, you run into an optional boss, the sister of the 5th, Perpetua. You do not have to win this fight unless you need the separate achievement for defeating her, which I still needed. However, you only get 1 chance. If you fail to kill her the first time, she leaves, and you have to start a new game to try again. My fight against her was pretty sloppy, but since she's not considered one of the original bosses for the achievement, I was thankfully allowed to use healing flasks. I made my way through the platforming challenges of Hondo, down to Grievance Ascends, and to the 4th boss, the Tres Angustias.
Nice.
I used the help of Viridiana for the 2nd time, because this boss shoots projectiles that can be difficult to avoid, and unlike the other fights, I'm not able to save my Fragment of Guilt for healing later in the fight. This was exactly what I needed, because I was narrowly able to defeat them on my 2nd attempt after Viridiana provided 2 life-saving heals.
Penitent one! Penitent one!
Whew. Thank you did help me that time, Viridiana. Now we have to do the bitch on the bridge. Now at the 5th and final boss of the speedrun, Estrus. I'm feeling nervous, but also a little confident. I was only 1 hour and 50 minutes into my speedrun. Surely I can beat this boss in over an hour. Viridiana cannot help with this fight, so the only healing I can get is my health bar and my Fragment of Guilt. I take some time to become reacquainted with his attack patterns, and I start to take less and less damage in the starting phases. However, the hardest part for me is when he gets to around 25% health, he calls his sister, Perpetua.
Sister!
The only thing she does is periodically attempt to dash into you, but I find her presence very distracting, and I forget how to parry Estrus because my attention is split between trying to watch out for her dash and his attacks. In this phase, I desperately tried to just rush his health down, but I failed not once, not twice, but 3 times at the last second.
No!
I was 1 hit away! I choked! No! Why? No, I choked again. But I tried to stay calm. I focused on dodging his attacks and taking as little damage as possible, and it paid off. The chokes are real. In total, I died 18 times to Estrus and cut it too close to the timer for comfort with 20 minutes remaining. At this point, I was no longer under a time constraint and had completed the bronze medal achievement on New Game Plus and without using any flasks. To finish Requiem Aeternum, the next 3 bosses were fairly easy to defeat. I struggled quite a bit with the last 2 bosses, Chrysanta, and I got a little bit lucky with Escobar. But if you enjoyed this and want to see how the other parts of my playthrough went, I edited all 36 hours of gameplay into 1 video. There should be a link to it on the screen, but I've never done this before, so if it's not there, there'll be a link in the description.